Hey again, everybody. Apologies for my voice. I'm coming down off of being sick for a while, but I think I've got my hair to behave today. So I wanted to make another video talking about Sundara because I've had a couple of people asking me questions, particularly based off the last video where I mentioned something called the Prim. And unless you bought a copy of Gods of Sundara, you might not be familiar with this concept, and it might be kind of confusing as to what I was talking about. So I thought this week I'd go in, explain what I was going for, and what makes this particular part of the setting different from other fantasy RPGs folks might have been playing. So, to start off, what is the Prim? Now, generally speaking, simple concept. In Sundara, you have two worlds. There is the material plane, the thing made up of rocks, trees, the sky, all those things you can see, feel, touch. And then surrounding it is the world of spirit, and that is the Prim. The Prim is raw creation. It is imagination. It is all those impossible things that we see in all of our fantasy settings. It's also the realm of magic, and it's the realm of the gods. And it serves a couple of different purposes in the setting that I think helps sort of differentiate it from various other settings we've played in. And the primary one is that it gives us an explanation for where all the magic comes from. Of whether you're an arcane caster, whether you're a divine caster, whether you're a sorcerer, a wizard, a cleric, a druid, whatever, all of your magic comes from the same wellspring. The only difference between you all is what methods you're using to sort of capture it, harness it, pull it in from that other world. So, if you are a wizard, you have all of these formulas that you use and the rituals that help you bridge that gap between the material and the spiritual to bring the energy to you. If you're a sorcerer, then your bloodline, whatever different flavor it has, whether you're undead, draconic, elemental, all of those just explain that there is a connection between your spirit and between the Prim, that you reach in through yourself to that other realm. If you're a cleric, then your faith, whatever it is you believe in, whoever it is you believe in, they sort of reach over for you, giving you what you need in order to, serve them, whether it's a cause or a deity or anything of that nature. And I think that's kind of fun. There's lots of settings, there's all this magic, but we have no explanation as to where it comes from. It's just there. And anytime they try to overcomplicate the explanation, it just leaves players more confused, and it starts all kind of arguments. So I just wanted to make it nice, crisp, clear, and simple. The second explanation, though, as sort of hinted at in the first description of it, this is where the gods dwell. And not just one or two or a couple, all of them. And Sundara is rife with deities. Big gods, small gods, intermediate gods, they are all there. All of them exist in the Prim. And that's kind of different from lots of the realms we're used to. We're used to these big, sprawling, multiplanar realms of just nonsense where you have archfiends in hell and paradukes in the abyss, and you have the celestial realms with their particular pantheon, and then you have all the lawful good deities in the heavens, and you have all the neutral deities in this area where they dispense law and judgment. And because I did away with alignment, I saw no reason to keep that system. So there is no complicated multiplanar universe out there. It's just these two realms. Any deity that could exist exists in the Prim. And it's one of those things I wanted to do for it, just to keep it simple, of there's the gods I provided in Gods of Sundara as kind of a sample pantheon for anybody who wants to play. But it expressly encourages both game masters and players to sort of make their own if the ones provided don't really fit the form and feel for what you're going for. But because it's so soft and squishy, you can make your own without sort of upsetting any existing world mythologies. There's not going to be any question of why was this deity that we made up ourselves not a part of these important legends? Or why is this fringe faith that we made for part of this plot not mentioned anywhere, even if it's been around for thousands of years? Is big or small, the Prim is just full of deities, and if you listen, you can find them. And those are the major two purposes. Last thing for that second section is the phrase, nothing is true, everything is permitted. Just keep that in mind going forward. You'll have a lot more fun in this setting. But there is a third function of it that I think is very important, both for a storytelling perspective and for just really getting a feel for just how wild I want players to go with this particular setting. And it's that the Prim is an element of chaos. Not in the sense of like darkness and dread and the forces of evil, but it's a living part of the world. It's not like lots of settings we have where magic is just kind of there, or it's a thing waiting for to be done. The Prim exists through, around, and inside of everything, and there are thin places in the world where it occasionally bleeds through. And when that happens, there are problems that adventurers will need to deal with, whether it's a spontaneous uprising of just undead wandering the countryside because all of the bodies were just infused with energy. It might be, strange beasts being mutated out in the forests, and like somebody has to deal with them now, whether it's figuring out how to tame them or slaying them or whatever it is. But there's also instances where new cults might form because a thin place in the world, like a dream of a god, leaked through and somebody had a vision and now they're forming a religion around it. You might have someone who spontaneously became a sorcerer just because they got caught in a wave of energy from this other world. All sorts of things could happen, and it's sort of there to allow storytellers to expand on plot or to have reasons of, yeah, sometimes chaotic things just happen, and that's why people have to deal with them. And if that gets really out of control, you might have something called a Prim quake, which is where just lots of energy, big changes come through, and it can be a serious issue both for people in the local area but also just across the entire region as this thing spirals outward. And so it's one of those things of, while not everyone can see the energies of the Prim, not everyone can feel them, not everyone has that sort of familiarity with them that, a career wizard or a lifelong sorcerer might have, it affects everyone. The entire setting has to deal with it in one way, shape, form, or another, even if they're not always sure when something's happening until the effects become very physical. And so that's kind of an intro primer on the Prim, what I'm trying to do with it, and if that sounds like fun, it's something people want to know more about, leave some comments down below. I'll try to answer them as it comes along, and happy gaming, everybody.